The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
The Full Melt.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
So with keyboard in lap. It is in my lap. Yeah, I'm adjusting some audio right now as we speak. Not with radio show. Well, yet. Welcome to the PetPain.com studios for another edition of the Full Melt Show today. Being Tuesday already. Can you believe we're past the 4th of July? I mean, we're on the downward slide now. The big downward slide. Please tell me this is what are they doing with this thing? Oh, this is driving me insane. The big downward slide to winter. It started on June 21st. You know, the 4th of July always marks it for me. After the 4th of July, it's the big downward slide to winter. Not looking forward to the winter. I'm not a winter guy. And so here's the thing. Normally I play a big piece out of the news here. And this is not that piece. It doesn't appear. Let me see if it is.
Thinking about summer, some farmers are still dealing with the aftermath from.
This is it. Okay, this is the piece. So I was going to play this. I'm so dismayed with the crazy Windows drives me insane. But foregoing the Windows issues, I wanted to play this right at the front of the show. I didn't have time to sneak it in. It just was not. Playing this on the regular browser was not cooperative. Boy, it kept wanting to stop and start and stop. And you know what I'm just going to do? I'm just going to play it for you now here on the iPhone. Here we go. I'm going to play it for you.
Dealing with the aftermath from that November storm.
I'll start over.
Zittel Farms now undergoing a major rebuilding effort after severe damage from that heavy snow. 7 Eyewitness News reporter Ed Riley headed to Eden for this update.
But in the silver lining is we are able to build a new greenhouse with some great efficiencies that we never would have had before. There was a silver lining.
But it didn't seem like it at first. 7 feet of snow during the November storm crushed and mangled over 2 acres of Zittel's greenhouses. Many spring crops were destroyed, and the farm had to move some of its growing operations to Rochester.
And we were living there for the 3 months for the spring crop.
But determined to rebuild, the Zittels have now started a $2 million construction project to replace the damaged structures.
We are definitely built for 7 foot. Hopefully it does not come again.
Crews from an Ohio specialty firm are now busy erecting metal frames. The new greenhouses will be taller at 18 feet and will include state-of-the-art heating and computerized water systems. When completed later this year, the Zittels will be able to grow more crops with greater efficiency, an important bonus to Eden Valley growers who are now seeing an increased demand for produce because of the California drought.
They always seem to bounce back whenever something bad hits them.
Insurance did not cover as much as expected, and the Zittels have to pay for a majority of the replacement.
We're taking some definite risk financially in rebuilding like this.
And even as they recover, they are still dealing with another weather problem. Too much rain.
Anytime there's rain out there, you add a lot of disease to your environment.
As the massive structures take shape, some are wondering if they will now be used for medical marijuana.
I can't promise you that it wouldn't happen someday, but right now we're going to stay situated with the crops we know best.
But there could be a lot more to that issue, and coming up at 6 p.m., we'll hear from Eden Valley growers as to what they think about the idea of growing medical marijuana. Ed Riley, 7 Eyewitness News.
So that's a story that came out of New York State. And I think, they're kind of couching it in crazy terms, aren't they? Hey, we had these guys had a big snowstorm last winter. Remember the big snow? Those guys, if you're on the western side of Lake Erie there, the eastern side of Lake Erie there, all that stuff blows across. They've got that lake effect snow over there like we have in Michigan. And it literally crushed this food growers' greenhouses. They all got folded over by the snow. 7 foot of snow on top of these things. They folded over. So they're like, look, our greenhouse is broke. We're going to have to get some insurance to fix them. The insurance isn't going to cover it all. We're reinstalling state-of-the-art stuff. You should see these greenhouses. I mean, it looks like they put up a Walmart. They're that tall. They got big, tall ceilings. They got big interior structure to them. And I think the plea that they're making on TV here in New York State is we lost some money here. We're getting some new orders for different food from California because of the drought. You know, I think they grow a lot of tomatoes and lettuce and stuff like that. Water-heavy crops inside these greenhouses. Well, now here comes this opportunity for a medical marijuana grow. And they're like, well, you know, officially here on the news story, they're like, they couched this, well, you know, hey, maybe we'll broaden out into other stuff. But right now, you know, we're doing this. See, they're looking for some grants. They want some grant money to help pick up the loss on whatever fell apart in that snow. And so they put in more expensive, you know, greener, if you'll pardon the pun, equipment. High-tech equipment, more efficient equipment, stuff that's better for the environment, stuff that's better for whatever they're growing. They invested in all this high-end stuff. And they're looking for grant money. Now, usually grant money comes from where? It usually does not come from other private industry. Hey, take some of our money and do something for your business. I'm sorry, but capitalist America is not that generous to other business. Unless they got to shake a hand deal and make some business with them. It's all about making money in America. And that's what these guys are doing. They're out there making money. Now, so if you want grant money, if it's not coming from the private sector, where is it coming from? It's coming from the public sector. Oh, you want some New York State grant money. You might want some federal grant money to fix this up. Hey, don't talk about the medical marijuana possibilities. The federal government's not going to give us our grant money. Oh, we're going to be on the hook for all that extra dough. Let me tell you that those guys at Eden Valley Food Supply are definitely eyeing out, trying to get involved with a big, giant medical marijuana grow. They're vying for one of those big 5 licenses. And if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves, recent news held that they extended the deadline for application to these types of businesses. So this highlights, again, the point that I keep trying to make, that big business, get ready for it. It's happening. It's happening as we speak. And some of it's already happened. They just haven't announced it yet. I think there are some big deals that have already been made in places like Colorado and Washington, who just recently, by the way, made $70 million in the first year of their recreational sales. I didn't say the RM. I just said recreational because that's how the news story quoted it. $70 million the first year that they had retail cannabis on the books in Washington. Places like these have already got established businesses with brand names people like and know that are regulated by state government and are also beholden to other, federal regulations with regards to product packaging and all that kind of crap. But the important thing to point out is that these big businesses are going to take this over. I mean, I don't know in what world you would think that this wouldn't happen. There's a lot of people that are always like, oh, big pharma, they're going to take it over. Of course they're going to take it over. I mean, that's what we do in this country. Everything goes through a certain process. We have expectations when we go to the counter here in America, and part of it is safety and efficacy and that nobody's going to get hurt. There's long-term studies. I mean, this is what they want. But we've been blockaded with medical marijuana for so long in this country over the idea that it doesn't have any considered medical use the way it's scheduled. It's unsafe for use with a doctor's supervision. Unsafe for use with a doctor's supervision, I'll repeat. And so it's very, very difficult to get a study done because the studies never get approved. There have been multitudes of requests for industrial and medical study, research, development with cannabis and cannabinoids and hemp. And there's always been a block in place. Now that we've cracked this nut, and let me tell you, we were designed to crack this nut for big business. We were designed to do this. You're not going to like the idea that, in my opinion, from my perspective, from all that I've seen in the past years that this subject has developed across the news and in our history, that big business pretty much looked to activists and the medical community to crack this nut for them on the federal level. And it's slowly cracking. And as that crack gets louder and the guts of that nut begin to spill, that nut meat begins to fall from its sheath, you will see big business swoop in like you've never seen it happen before. Everybody, if you don't think that these people in Colorado and Washington are all positioned to be sold to big business, you're living in utopia. Put the bong down, slap yourself in the face a couple minutes, get a drink of cold water, take a shower, whatever you got to do, but wake the hell up, because that's what's going to happen. What you've got to do, if you want to have your own grow, if you want to have a caregiver, if you've got a caregiver system, if you want to protect your medical rights, that's what you need to enshrine in the coming legislation, whether it's done via a ballot petition drive, a citizens-initiated thing, or whether a legislature does it in your states. If you're not a state with medical marijuana, if you're not a state with cannabis on a retail level, on either level, get ready for this issue to change in your area. Because not only is the $70 million, the tens of millions of dollars that Colorado made, the $70 million from, Washington, not only does that stick out in legislators' minds, in government's mind, look, this is a new form of tax. In an era where Republican-controlled houses of, state and federal governments, the executive branch held in many cases by very conservative people, haven't wanted to turn this over. It's been a very difficult go. But the floodgates are about to open up, and I just want to prepare you for what's going on. I don't want you to wake up one morning and go, oh, no, it's what happened. Our grow rights are going away next month. Are you serious? They got rid of our medical marijuana program. They threw us under the bus. We got to pay taxes now. I mean, you got to get involved. You have to roll up your sleeves. You must do this. If you're in Ohio, I urge you to go sign OTEP's pledge. Go sign their idea to get retail cannabis and medical marijuana done in Ohio. Contact your Pennsylvania legislators and make sure you get medical marijuana done there this year. In Michigan, sign the MI Legalized campaign. We've got so much more in the news coming up next here on The Full Melt Show.
You're getting The Full Melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at Canalock.com. Visit Canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. 571.
Get growing with GrowMax. Indoor, outdoor, beginner, or a warehouse full of Gavitas, probiotic organics, or huge production with Max Power Monster Aeroponics systems. We can help you rock it. YouTube GrowMax with 2 X's. Customer service is why we're blowing up. And I'm Dave. My cell number is 906-221-2111. We also specialize in electrical and HVAC and new double-ended bulb technology. 906-221-2111. Get growing. GrowMax.
Get the Beach Bong ready for sunshine and sandy beaches in McGrill, Jamaica this November as the High Times Cannabis Cup moves from Amsterdam to the Caribbean. Your trip starts with the absolute best rates on airfare, hotel, events, and all your Cannabis Cup travel needs at travelcannabiscup.com. Come stay with us, relax in the sun, play in the sand, and smoke down with the cool people, man. Get to the High Times Jamaica Cannabis Cup. Best travel prices right now at travelcannabiscup.com.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Hey, welcome back to the program. You can join us here every Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. By the way, I love this Beck song. Brand new Beck. It's easy to subscribe to us on iTunes at thefullmelt.com. Right there on the front page is the iTunes link. Click on it and subscribe. Got to tell you about Puffapalooza. It's happening. I'm just going to real briefly. I usually go into great detail about this. I was noticing yesterday that I was turning that into like a 3-minute thing. I don't want it to be 3 minutes. It doesn't need to be that long. But in the interest of propping up a great event, I do want to tell you about Puffapalooza. If you're in Michigan and you want to check it out, it's at Pine Hollow Golf Club this will be the 8th of August coming up. The gates open there at 11, music at noon. There's all kinds of bands. There's a full bar, disc golf vendors, all this stuff. Disc golf tournament, a lot of fun. There's camping, VIP tickets, all this. Check it out. You can get tickets now at puffapalooza.brownpapertickets.com or stop by at Puff Danny's Glass Boutique on 4th Street in Wyandotte, and they will gladly help you out. I intend to be out there enjoying the great music that weekend. This story about marijuana caught my eye. There's a bunch of stuff that happens every day. And I'm never, it never ceases to amaze me how many crazy stories there are about cannabis. And it gets thicker and thicker every day. This thing bothers me, though, because, not the news, I got to get something off my chest here. It's bugging me. So I told you last week and a little bit this week about how to save money on your electric bill in Michigan with DTE. And, DTE, I don't know, maybe I could look that up. I have to do this I had an idea while I was mentioning DTE. For those of you, because, DTE is a local power company. Have you ever seen that show Cash Cab? Remember the Cash Cab show on I think it was the Discovery Channel put it out at first? And you got this, comedian guy. He's a comedian by trade. That's what he did before he did Cash Cab. But Cash Cab is like the HBO Cab, where they do taxi cab confessions. But Cash Cab was a game show, and they held it inside the Cash Cab. And they had flashing lights when you got questions right, and if you got too many questions wrong, or they'd kick you out of the cab. You'd have to go walk and get another cab. But if you got stuff right, at the end, you could walk out of there with some decent money. The cab would be paying you instead, which is really cool. It was a cool concept. Well, the guy that was the driver of the cab does these commercials now, because I don't think he does Cash Cab anymore. I think that show's been canceled. But he does these commercials, and the commercials are for DTE Energy. And I thought, oh, man, I don't know if that was a step down or a step sideways. I suppose if I was a comedian that got a game show on, a cable channel for a few years, it actually went into syndication, and then had to step aside and do this kind of thing, I'd have to do it. So, I'm not knocking the guy because I think he's funny. I think his show is great. But he does these commercials for DTE. Now, I'm just going to play you one, just in the interest of making you understand what this is, because I have to get this off my chest. Here's the DTE Know Your Own Power commercial. Here we go. Watch it play another commercial.
Lindsay wants to know.
So I'm curious, what's DTE Energy doing to improve their customer service?
Why don't we take a ride over there and let Rachel tell us? Hello.
Hello. Take a walk with me. Here at DTE Energy, we're working very hard to improve our service, like answering every call under 1 minute and resolving the issue on the first call.
Wow, no passing the buck, huh?
Nope. And plus, we're adding over 100 customer service jobs right here in the state of Michigan.
I need to get a real job.
I'm going to send your application.
Thanks, Rachel. DTE Energy. Know your own power.
Okay, so that's like their advertising tagline, right? They hire like a public relations company to hire the guy from Cash Cab to do these commercials and to pump this idea. Really get to know your energy company because, you know, and I like the idea because what they're doing is teaching you ways to save money. There are plans and programs that will help you be more efficient. They had a program, I remember, for low-income people, and they still have a program now for just everybody. They'll come and take away your recycled old equipment, you know, to make sure it stays off the grid. If you got an older, not Energy Star rated electrical appliance like a refrigerator or a freezer, they'll give you a discount off your electric bill by come and haul that away for you. You don't have to pay to have it taken out of there and worry about pins coming out of doors on refrigerators. It's a great program. These guys have some awesome things at the power company here locally in Michigan. And it's not everybody. Some cities have their own power things, but they're all governed by the Michigan Public Service Commission. The state regulates power in this state, and most states across the country. There's been some power deregulation, and I don't know if you know anything about Enron. It's pre-9/11. But if you remember anything about the news of Enron and how they caused a stock market crash and how they lost a bunch of people's money and all the money that was invested into that big Ponzi scheme over there in California, when they deregulated electricity, they had rolling blackouts, they had all kinds of problems. So regulation is good. It keeps people with power. It keeps business in order. You know, it's a good thing. You don't want people getting electrocuted. You want stuff being done right. You want to play by certain rules so that people don't get hurt. It's a necessity of life in modern-day America. In fact, if you don't have power in most places, they will condemn you. It is not an occupiable building. So power is really important. And if you're a cannabis grower, if you're a patient or a caregiver, it's probably the most expensive thing that you have to incur as a cost of doing this. It's what gets passed on to patients if you're a caregiver. It's what patients pay for if caregivers are charging them for, and they are because they're not doing it for free. This is very expensive to do when people do it. So I thought it would be a good idea to get a hold of DTE and talk to them directly with their customer service people, and not, because customer service doesn't deal with media outlets. This is considered a media outlet, a news outlet. So you got to go through their media relations people. And I reached out to them as a professional to have them come on this program and talk about the split metering, the savings I told you about last week in detail from the horse's mouth. So you just have to get it from me because I've educated myself about this issue. But I don't think very many people know about it. If you want to take advantage of 66% savings on your electric bill, on your grow, do your growing, your lighting, your powering between the hours of 7 p.m. and 11 a.m. So is that a 16-hour window? I think it is. Because the 8 hours during the day from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., that little window there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, yeah. So, it's during that window, they're going to charge you the standard rate that everybody else gets charged across the board. During the day, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's peak usage. That's when everybody wants to use their power. They're going to charge you in this state through that company 12 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, most people here don't have a choice about which power company they can use. You've either got one power company or the other. There are some people that do have that luxury. I'm going to pick Consumers Power, Consumers Energy, who used to be a gas company, or I'm going to pick DTE. If you're in a city, you probably don't have that choice. You've got to buy it from the city. In my instance, I don't have a choice. I go through one company only. It's DTE. And they like I said, I'm not bashing DTE about this, but I wanted them to perhaps rethink the idea that they wouldn't come on this program given the nature of the conversation revolving around medical marijuana. And this is such a grow-up moment for these guys, really. Come on, grow up, you guys. They refused to come out. We're going to pass on that. And I responded back to the media relations person. Look, I don't want to be smug about it, but how are we supposed to get to know your own power? I mean, that is the message you're saying, and I'm trying to help you spread that message to people that have an impact on your business and on their bottom line. You have this program. Why won't you come on and talk about this program? I'm sure they would. I'm sure if I was a regular TV station, if I was a terrestrial broadcast outlet, like, is my entire broadcast history, if I was able to rattle off some call letters or tell them that I was from some newspaper publication, they would send that spokesperson right on over on the phone. Sure, let's do that interview. But because it was medical marijuana related, the question was for growers of cannabis. I'm not talking about illegal weed growers. I'm not talking about the black market. I'm not talking about propping up a bad industry, an illegal industry. I'm talking about medical growers. It doesn't matter. Overall, I mean, if we remove that question entirely, we're just talking about saving people money on their electric bill, which is what this conversation is about, for crying out loud. So please, DTE, grow up. Come on. Nobody was going to poke you in the eye. Nobody was going to set you up with a strange question. Nobody was going to ambush you. Nobody was going to besmirch your name because you talked about the magical MM words. And you didn't even have to say them. All you had to say is how the split meter thing works and how you can take advantage of that program. That's what we wanted to hear from you. And isn't that what you're there to tell us? I mean, that's really, you've got all kinds of stuff on your website. I don't want to direct you to some .com as a listener. I want you, the DT, to come on and tell about it. Like any other company would talk about their company. An opportunity to promote. I can tell you very few and far between companies refuse to come on a program like this once they get an opportunity to expose themselves, get that media attention. We have thousands of listeners on this program. Got the numbers to prove it. I'm just saying, if you're going to, hide, please don't hide from, grow up a little bit. It's just power. And we're trying to get to know you. So I got that off my chest. Thank you. You can take advantage of the program. I'll tell you real quickly, in a nutshell, what it is. You can't just, I know some other people who are growing it. They're like, yeah, I thought that they had that discount for using it at night instead of during the day. So that's what I do. I grow my stuff at night. That's when the lights are on. But I never noticed any reduction in my bill. And the reason is because you have to have a special meter to make that happen. You got to call them and ask for the daytime, nighttime meter. They have to come out and read it. It's not going to be one of those radio meters, but it's going to cost you more. It's going to cost you $19 a month instead of $6. That's basically the program. That's all I can tell you. But overall, what this means, if you are spending $600 on the grow portion of your electric bill, under normal conditions and growing during the day and don't have that split meter, if you're spending $600 in a month, this is going to reduce your cost just by switching to night and getting that additional meter to $200. So you can shell out $6 or you can shell out $2, but I just gave you the keys to the $2 bill door, the $200 bill door. It's a lot better than a $600 bill door, I'll just tell you. But DTE did not want to come on and talk about that. And when I was talking about this a little bit on Facebook, because I posted it on Facebook, come on, DTE, grow up. I'm not really not bashing you. I'm just trying to pry you out of your shell and come on and talk about your own program, for crying out loud. But when I mentioned it on Facebook, somebody came on and said, look, DTE should be kissing marijuana growers' feet. There's so many medical marijuana growers in this state. There's a lot of energy being used by that group, which is why it would be important to explain this issue. There's a reason they give you a discount on the overnight usage or the 7 p.m. to 11 a.m. usage. It's because during peak use, they got to ramp up a lot of stuff to generate that power. And then suddenly at 7 o'clock, it dips like crazy. So they got to reduce power production and shift things over. It costs money. There's employees involved. There's other stuff involved in changing that power over like that, in reducing it so greatly. So what they'd rather do is take some of the load off the day so they don't have to ramp it up so high and push it off tonight, so they can even out that power differential, and it costs them less to do. This is why they're willing to give you a 2/3 discount, 4 cents versus 12 cents per kilowatt hour. I mean, it's a huge discount. It represents a 66% savings. Why they wouldn't want to propel their own benefit. Talk to a very key core group of people who need to understand this to take advantage of the very program that they have a vested interest in promoting themselves from a cost reason. Why they wouldn't come on and explain that is beyond me. I think it's a childish notion. I think they're worried about as a public relations organization, if they're representing a company like DTE, that they don't want to get their teeth in a ringer, so to speak. They don't want to misspeak. They don't want to be heard tomorrow with some broadcaster mouthing off about medical weed. This is not a dangerous program. I'm just saying. Don't be afraid of your own shadow, for crying out loud. The world is still crawling around about you, regardless of the fact that your eyes are closed. And I stepped off that soapbox. So, in the interest of furthering the program, where are we at with content? Where are we at with time? Looks like we're getting ready to roll up on a break is what it looks like. You were not going to do that to me. I'm just noticing something on the computer that's always liking to give me a hard time, and I am not going to let that happen. There we go. There was going to be some noise that I was not going to be happy about. It might have interrupted our audio. So here we go. Where are we at here? Oh, yeah, we got like a couple minutes. So I guess what I'll do is remind you about a potential interview for tomorrow. I haven't double confirmed it yet, but I did confirm it before. Our guy from our interviewee, important writer for High Times Magazine, Mr. Danny Danko, on the program tomorrow, tentatively. He was originally scheduled to be on the program last Wednesday, and then, kind of asked to reschedule at the last minute for this Wednesday. So I have not gotten word back from him. I hope he's back on for tomorrow. He would be the guest for the entire program. Also wanted to tell you about after the break. What are we going to talk about after the break? Let me tell you, I didn't get a chance to talk about one thing yesterday that I intended on doing. And that's that there was some news yesterday. Boy, there was just so much happened. There was a lot of crap coming after the holiday yesterday. And there was just no opportunity to fully explore it. And so I didn't even touch on this story. But I think it's an important one. And my sister, who is a nurse, would appreciate the idea that, I know she would because she liked the story when I posted it, has always kind of been against drugs in general and medical marijuana in particular because, I guess marijuana also. She lumps it in with the other drugs for some reason. You have to understand that she's a neonatal nurse and she sees a lot of children in the hospital negatively affected in severe ways. I mean, neonatal means premature, intensive care. That's where she works. It's the place where the babies have been endangered by either a premature birth, an improper birth. They're in usually neonatal intensive care. And so there's a story that I want to talk about coming up after the break that really came out yesterday. And it is a story about recommendations. And this seems to be a unanimous decision about whether or not mothers, potential mothers, or expecting mothers should be using medical marijuana before, during, or maybe even after their pregnancy.
You're getting the full melt.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Alkaline water, herbal remedy, essential oil.
Sacred Elements.
Natural and organic shampoo, lotion, pain cream, bath salt.
Sacred Elements.
Beeswax candles and handmade crafts, canes and walking sticks, artwork, jewelry, and repurposed goods.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dorr Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
You know, it's not easy out there, but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. His knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at denalihealthcaremi.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464.
Get the beach bong ready for sunshine and sandy beaches in McGrill, Jamaica this November as the High Times Cannabis Cup moves from Amsterdam to the Caribbean. Your trip starts with the absolute best rates on airfare, hotel, events, and all your Cannabis Cup travel needs at TravelCannabisCup.com. Come stay with us, relax in the sun, play in the sand, and smoke down with the cool people, man. Get to the High Times Jamaica Cannabis Cup. Best travel prices right now at TravelCannabisCup.com.
Get growing with GrowMax. Indoor, outdoor, beginner, or a warehouse full of Gavitas. Probiotic organics, or huge production with Max Power Monster Aeroponics systems. We can help you rock it. YouTube GrowMax with 2 X's. Customer service is why we're blowing up. And I'm Dave. My cell number is 906-221-2111. We also specialize in electrical and HVAC and new double-ended bulb technology. 906-221-2111. Get growing. GrowMax.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
Freedom is what we're after here on the program, here on the Full Melt Show. We are full-blooded American patriots here. We speak our mind. Ain't taking nothing from nobody here. It doesn't take that much to be solidly founded in principle, ideals, and there's nothing to say that the cannabis community doesn't have a set of morals. It drives me insane when people still want to inflect the idea that the cannabis community doesn't have any morals, that these are degenerates, that these are hippies, these are drug users, they all just want to get high. Doesn't all of America just want to get high? Don't they just go home and drink their booze? They're on their way home from the shop or their nightly gig behind a desk or their daily duty behind a nurse's station. They grab a little bottle on the way home. They grab a little six-pack. They head out to the bar with their friends. They drink some beers. They watch some TV. They watch some sports at the bar. Isn't this a never-ending subject? So why would you say... why would you want to pigeonhole? Why would you want to project the idea that the cannabis community has no morals? It drives me insane. I would say that there is nothing immoral about cannabis in general, generally speaking. And there are all kinds of facts and tips and points that we could point you to. If you're one of these people that is anti-cannabis, if you're against marijuana for any reason, and it seems like there are some people in the news that are. Let me pull this example. It's a little dusty, the example I got in my head. There's where's this going on? It's going on, if I'm not mistaken. Where's it at? Oh, I don't want to misquote it. In fact, I'll have to look the story up momentarily here. I'm just going to have to look it up now. Then I want to circle back around to this thing with my sister and this story from yesterday about recommendations about pregnancy. There's a city or state, I think it's a state, and I want to say it's California. It is not California. It's a different state. Let me give the gist of the story. We'll figure out where it happened as I'm looking it up while I'm telling you about it. So the gist of the story is they're trying to get marijuana done as a legal scheme. So a retail cannabis, or it could have been a medical marijuana issue, I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, this is a conservative state, as memory serves. Is this Montana I'm thinking about? I think it is. It might be Montana. So, yes. So, I think it is Montana now that as memory serves. The idea is that there's been a campaign launched for a ballot initiative to legalize marijuana in Montana. This is from KRTV.com. Dateline, Billings. A Montana man plans to kick his recreational marijuana campaign into full gear by riding his bike across the state, collecting signatures for his ballot initiative. Anthony Veriano, it's going to correct myself. Anthony Veriano of Glendive, he's 29, submitted his initiative Ballot Issue 7 to the Montana Secretary of State on Monday. This measure would permit people aged 21 or older to consume or process limited amounts of marijuana. Several steps remain before Veriano can get his campaign into gear, before he can launch into one of the most difficult and expensive parts of any ballot measure, gathering tens of thousands of signatures across the state. Now, to that end, Veriano, his efforts organized as Cycling for Sensible Drug Policy, plans a 1,600-mile, 43-county trip to raise support for the issue and gather signatures. Still, he called fundraising for that trip slow going so far. He called current recreational marijuana prohibition ridiculous and draconian, quote unquote, and that the time was right for the measure. If we don't do it in 2016, it's going to take another 4 years to pass, he said. Veriano has visited legal marijuana stores in both Washington and Colorado. He noted, quote, we can wait around for Montana state legislature to get nothing done again, or we can take it into our own hands, end quote. Ballot Issue 7 states that marijuana profits would be used to supplement teachers' salaries and even entice out-of-state teachers to take employment in Montana. Veriano also says the taxes from legal marijuana could help Montana solve its infrastructure problems, particularly in eastern Montana. Our schools are suffering, says Veriano. I know Glendive's superintendent went out to Minnesota recently to recruit teachers, and he came back saying none of them were interested in coming here. That's a horrible thing. Veriano said that in states like Washington and Colorado, where recreational marijuana is legal, the economy thrives, and he believes Montana is missing out on the same opportunity. Now, this is the other note. This is the other shoe to that conversation. And I have not seen this up until this point at all in any other state across the country. I've not seen it. Steve Zabawa, a Billings car dealer, has already submitted his initiative for the 2016 ballot that would ban the use of marijuana in the state. Get this. Here's a prohibitionist taking the People's Initiative back and spinning it back on the people. He says, oh, really? You want to legalize pot here? Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put my own ballot initiative together that says you can't use pot for anything. Currently, medical marijuana is legal for users who hold a state-issued green card. He's really out of touch, Veriano said of Zabawa. A lot of young people are going to vote, and this is something that they care about. Zabawa doesn't have a chance. Zabawa said earlier he wants Montana to follow federal law and criminalize all uses of marijuana, which is currently classified as a Schedule I drug. Schedule I drugs are considered by the U.S. government as drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. And as I said earlier, not safe for supervised use under a doctor's care. Veriano and Zabawa must each garner 50,000 signatures to get their ballot respective initiatives on the ballot. Veriano plans to ride his bike around the state for 50 days and stop in each town to campaign and collect signatures. It's like 1,600 miles, he says. I think this shows people I'm serious about this, and it also gives me a chance to see more people. I'll need about 1,000 signatures each day of the trip. He's got a GoFundMe page, and there's a bunch of other stuff. You know, I think he's doing a great thing, but I think it's an interesting note that there's some other guy out there saying, I'm going to dig in on the prohibitionist message. I realize that there are lots that in this war, there are more mortars aimed at me than I could aim at any one individual. They're coming from all directions, 360 degrees around me. People are aiming mortars at the prohibitionist message. That is me. But I'm going to dig in and ask for your support and stand up and die on my hill as a martyr for the cause of prohibiting cannabis in Montana. I've never seen it. Never seen it. And I didn't think it would come. I mean, who's going to take that position? This is like kind of like if somebody was gay and stood up and said, no, I don't think gay people should be able to get married now. No. I'm going to take it to the Supreme Court. It's kind of the same thing. It's a spin around. I mean, they took the weapons away from the people who were changing the policy and tried to change it back themselves. So it's just a little strange. Now, back to this thing about what time we got here. Yeah. I'm not happy about what time we got. You can never squeeze enough in a simple program. Marijuana and pregnancy. I'm sure if I just Google this, we could find the story all by itself. Right off the top, where we just click on news. So if you Google marijuana and pregnancy and then click on the news tab, you'll get this first story on the list from the Steamboat Pilot and Today. This is dated yesterday, as I told you before, July 5th. Steamboat Springs. The legislation of recreational marijuana in states including Colorado has led national medical organizations to release formal recommendations on the use of the drug, specifically as they may affect pregnant women and mothers. The American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists released a statement in June denouncing the use of marijuana by pregnant or breastfeeding mothers, and the American Academy of Pediatrics is expected to follow suit with similar recommendations this month. The recommendations provide support for physicians who already subscribe to the potential dangers of mothers using marijuana, including local physician Dr. Stephen Ross of Sleeping Bear Pediatrics. They could also sway the recommendations given by OBGYNs and pediatricians who are part of the national organizations, Ross said. This represents a very large consensus. Ross said there is no safe level of THC consumption during a woman's pregnancy, and concerns exist for the infant's IQ, memory, and overall cognitive development. There's a little more to this story. There's a little more, and I think it's important you know about it. We'll get to the side B on this flip side coming up next.
You're getting the full melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at Canalock.com. Visit Canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit PetPain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. PetPain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dort Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. You know, all the stories that I've been posting here today, talking about here on the show, I've also posted on Twitter, tweeted about it, put it on a couple of Facebook, my own personal Facebook page, as well as the FullMelt.com's Facebook page. And it seems like every day there are lots of people buzzing about all those topics. Now, they'll come there and they'll buzz around and answer stuff and respond to other people's replies and say stuff. I want to move that conversation to the radio. Can we migrate that over here to the radio? Because, you know, that's the place that we can actually converse with each other, I think, in a broader way. Yeah, there's lots of people on Facebook about the posts that I put up reading some of that stuff. But can't you come on the program? Do me a favor. One day when you got a chance, during the live show from 7 until 8 Eastern, call the Canlock no-smell lines, the no-smell bag lines, at 844-420-TALK and talk about what we're posting. The posts are just kind of a tease about what's going on the show. You got all kinds of comments there. Can you bring them to the phone? Because we want to hear what you got to say. We don't want to see what you got to say. We'd like to hear what you got to say. Because there's a lot of intelligent comments there, and I'd just like to, kind of get some of that interjected into the show. There's a piece of breaking news, and there's also two other pieces. Am I going to have to lengthen the show? I might have to do it. I'm going to do it. Doing it. Right there. So, will it pick up from there? Yeah.
The Full Melt Show is intended...
No, it won't pick up from there. Went back to the beginning of the show. That's okay. Hang on. We've paused the show midstream. Picking it up from here. There we go. I put it on pause. There's too much. I got to squeeze some very important detail in. Yesterday, I got off the program, and I felt like one of the most important points I wanted to make was cut short by the end of the program. And I want to circle back around to that. There's some breaking news that just happened during the show here that I just caught a glimpse of. It actually happened a couple hours before the program, but I didn't see this story earlier in the day preparing for the show. Right now, we're talking about this story revolving around the recommendations by very astute organizations looking into cannabis use by pregnant mothers. This is at the Yampa Valley Medical Center. New mothers in March began receiving handouts called Marijuana and Your Baby. I got to back up a little bit here. So this guy Ross that we were talking about, Dr. Stephen Ross of the Sleeping Bear Pediatrics, he says they could also sway the recommendations given by OBGYNs and pediatricians who are part of the national organizations, Ross said. This represents a very large consensus. He said that there are no safe levels of THC consumption during a woman's pregnancy, and concerns exist for the infant's IQ, memory, and overall cognitive development. The labels of retail marijuana products currently must include a warning statement saying that there may be additional health risks, quote unquote, for women who are pregnant or are breastfeeding. And that's what I really wanted to point you to, is the breastfeeding issue, because it's a popular thing. It's more popular now than ever before, I think, breastfeeding. In April, the Colorado legislature voted down a bill that would have also required maternal warnings regarding the use of marijuana to be posted inside dispensaries in conspicuous places. Ross said he believes the use of marijuana by pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers is very common, including in Root County. It's pretty widespread, Ross said. At Yampa Valley Medical Center, new mothers in March began receiving these handouts called Marijuana and Your Baby, published by the Colorado Department of Public Health and the Environment, to educate the mothers about the potential harms of marijuana. Excuse me. Staff at YVMC's Family Birthplace said that although marijuana is legal, it doesn't make it safe to use during pregnancy or while breastfeeding. Staff said that the THC from marijuana is stored in the fat of breast milk, with the levels of THC sometimes 8 times higher than the levels in a woman's blood. Now, that's just an amazing statistic, and what I want to do is read that for you again and point it out. We'll just make it a little more clear. The THC from marijuana is stored in the fat of breast milk, with levels of THC sometimes 8 higher times the levels in a woman's blood. It's 8 times higher than what you would have in your own blood, what's in your breast milk. Mothers are encouraged by the family birthplace staff to pump and dump breast milk until they test negative for THC, which can sometimes take 3 to 4 weeks. A good time to discuss marijuana usage during pregnancy might be during prenatal visits with a doctor before becoming pregnant, according to the ACOG recommendations. Such a visit could help a woman better understand the risks of using marijuana while pregnant at the earliest time. There is some more information about this in Colorado on their government website. It's the Colorado Department of Public Health at colorado.gov. The ACOG recommendations are available at www.acog.org. I thought it was an enlightening and interesting article, and I'm sure that it's in everybody's best interest to protect the safety of children as this marijuana issue moves across the country. And it's great to have these places. I know, Colorado's, you got to thank the people of Colorado. I mean, they rose their hands up and said, we are willing to be the guinea pig of the United States over this issue. And in being such, they have subjected themselves to this kind of regulation testing. This is regulated testing. Well, I'm not talking about testing of marijuana. I'm not talking about regulated testing of people and patients and mothers and all this stuff. Regulated testing, sampling of the public for what is going on. These are studies being done that are kind of entwined with the whole idea that we're going to allow this to happen in Colorado. The legislature said so. The people of the state of Colorado said so with their initiative, that mandatory reports must be made so that we can keep tabs on this issue and adjust accordingly. That is the basis of that foundation. So, now the breaking news. The breaking news is kind of important. I've been telling you before that I wanted to talk some about... this is not... Well, please tell me. Where did it go now? Oh, for crying out loud, that's not the one. Where did it go? Here we go. The breaking news is Packers DE Dayton Jones cited for marijuana after NFC title game. This is the breaking news. It happened 5 hours ago at PackersNews.com. Here's the story. About 7 hours after the Green Bay Packers' shocking loss in the NFC Championship game, defensive end Dayton Jones was ticketed for marijuana possession, according to Green Bay police. Jones was cited at 12:29 a.m. on January 9th, a couple hours after the Packers' plane returned from Seattle. Last week, he was suspended for the team's 2015 opener in Chicago because of a violation of the NFL's substance abuse policy. Green Bay Police Lieutenant Chad Ramos said a woman called police to report a suspicious situation in the parking lot of an apartment complex off Capitol Drive on the city's west side. The woman said loud music was coming from a black Jeep occupied by a man and a woman, and said that she saw money and a sandwich bag change hands. The two officers approached the Jeep and noticed the clear, distinct odor of marijuana, said Ramos, reading from a report. Ramos said Jones became emotionally upset and told officers he was the first-round draft pick of the Green Bay Packers in 2013. Jones was issued a citation for possession of THC. He was convicted February 10th and paid an $880 fine. Jones has no prior convictions or citations in Wisconsin, according to an online record source. The 32-year-old Green Bay woman who was with Jones was ticketed on 3 ordinance violations: resisting and obstructing a police officer, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possession of THC. Court records show she was found guilty of all 3 charges and fined $1,443. The fine remained unpaid as of Monday. Jones can participate in the Packers preseason, but he is ineligible for the team's September 13th opener against the Chicago Bears. He can return to the active roster on September 14th. After being drafted with the 26th overall pick in 2013, Jones has fallen short of expectations for a first-round pick, entering a prove-it third year. A suspension in the opener is not an ideal way to start the 2015 season, says the article. For the Packers, Jones' suspension continued a tumultuous offseason. 2 days after Jones' punishment was announced, Packers tight end Andrew Quarles was arrested in Miami Beach, Florida. Quarles was charged with a first-degree misdemeanor for discharging a firearm in public during an argument on Saturday morning. In February, defensive tackle Letroy Guion, Letroy Guion, I think is his name, was arrested. I'm not good up on the sports names. Arrested and charged with 2 felony counts for possession of a semi-automatic handgun and 2 bags of marijuana containing a total of 357 grams. Guion is likely also facing a suspension, but there's been no announcement from the league's office. So, again, I'm just going to highlight the idea because, I don't remember if we talked about this in detail or not, but it seems like the inside word from the NFL is about 60% of this. They could not field a team without the use of marijuana. That's the inside report from the NFL or on the NFL. I don't think it was from the NFL. But their own inside people, not wanting to be named, their own coaches, their own staff, their own insiders are saying we could not field a team on the ball field, on the gridiron. We couldn't get anything out there if we didn't have the access to pain-killing marijuana. And a lot of the team members, I think, ought to have access to marijuana to keep them from getting addicted on these horrible opiates for pain associated with injuries on the field. Also, marijuana being a neuroprotectant, it is patented as that issue, I think, by the federal government. I think the federal government of the United States of America owns a patent on the neuroprotective qualities of cannabis. And so it would seem that you would want to let the people of the NFL have access to those neuroprotective qualities for concussions. It seems like the people that have used cannabis, and I'm telling you, according to their own inside report, 60% of them do use cannabis on the field. Not necessarily during a game, but they're going to use it after the game. They're not getting tested. They're only subjected to testing once a year, according to their arbitration agreement, their binding contract through their unions, the players' unions. They're only subjected to testing of drugs during a window which everybody knows about, and it's in the off-season. They use the excuse that everybody's together. I think that's a terrible excuse. I think they could test them wherever they wanted to test them. I think they test in the offseason during this period where everybody knows they can be tested. They're subjected to this one test, organization-wide during that period. If you fail that test, you're going to get tested several times a month. All month long, you're going to get tested all the time. You're going to get spot tested. You're going to get tested here. You're going to get tested there. You're not going to be able to use your cannabis. So the reason the NFL has these players using cannabis before, during, and after games, in some cases during, there were some admissions made in the articles that I read. And I think it was an NFL source, if I'm not mistaken. Not the article itself. I think the NFL source was quoted in the article. That they should have this access. A lot of players are coming forward now, and it seems like in light of the recent troubles highlighted by the news here today, legal-wise, for these players, look, firing a gun is not a smart idea. Smoking pot out in the cab of a vehicle with a strange woman probably wouldn't happen. It would probably happen in an apartment somewhere if they didn't have to hide from grandma who says that marijuana is illegally and the doctors say it's bad. So I wanted to point that idea out. There is another issue that I was talking about Bureau of Prison Statistics last night. I had to circle back around to this. And then there's one other. Was there one other thing? I don't know if there's another thing. You might have to wait because I don't think I can hold it off anymore. I'm going to refire the program. So we are going a bit over today. Bureau of Prison Statistics population has increased, so that we now have in this country only a representation of 5% of the population of the globe in this country, population-wise. We represent 5%. But we have like 70% of the world's prisoners in this country. And I just want to highlight the statistics. I got to the chance to tell you that when Reagan took office in 1980, there were 24,648 prisoners in the Bureau of Prison population. That's the federal prisons. They added to the tune of thousands and thousands every year, sometimes as little as 1,000 and some change, sometimes as much as 11,000, almost 11,500 per year added to the prison population year after year, presidency after presidency. Until 2012, when it remained at 217,768. I'm sorry, 2012 was 218,687. That was the first year in the 35-year history of statistic keeping reflected in this chart where the prison population was added to by less than 1,000 prisoners. The following year, in 2013, It was the least number of prisoners in the 35-year history added to the prison population. It was a grand total of 611 to bring the grand total of the prison population at its highest peak ever in 2013 to 219,298. And remember, there was 24,000 prisoners. It doubled, and it doubled again by 2013. And then it doubled again. Now, the thing that I mentioned it, but it was right in the closing moments of the show, and I really wanted to point to it stronger, so I'm doing it now. 2014 was the first year, thank you, President Obama, because this is silently happening. Nobody's paying attention to this. You got a glimpse of it with Holder and the Justice Department during the administration before Holder's resignation, that, or retirement, I guess, not resignation, more retirement, going back to his old job. Recently just taking that position back up. It was in the news. They're going to reduce the prison population. It's not sustainable. There's too many people there. They were headed towards 300,000 really quickly. They're already overcrowded. There's no room in the federal budget to support what's here, let alone to build onto it. There are so many of these people. The vast majority of them, approximately 75% of these people, are nonviolent prison junkies. They're nonviolent drug offenders of various and sundry forms. It's been an edict, an outline of the Justice Department via the Obama administration, and almost an executive order to reduce this population. I believe that the person that took over from President Obama was designed to do that. I think it was well noted that this individual would be taking this post over from Eric Holder and carrying forth the marching orders, despite her federal prosecutor status, as Eric Holder was, to reduce the federal prison population by letting a number of people who are in there for mandatory minimum sentences after they've been in there for about 10 years to let them the hell go. If they didn't have any associations with guns or gangs or violence, given certain conditions, and you've done 10 years of a sentence, in many cases, a lot of people are in their life with no parole. You could kill somebody, you could rape a child, and you would not get life without parole as a necessary mandatory minimum. It just doesn't happen. A lot of these people will get 10, 12 years eventually. They'll plea bargain out. The way the justice system works, if you kill somebody or rape a kid, you're going to get out. You're going to have an opportunity to go reoffend. If you killed somebody, why are you going to let them back out? I don't know. Maybe you give them a second chance. Maybe that's what we're after here in America. But if you're a mandatory minimum drug offender, you're going to get locked up with the keys getting thrown away. You didn't do anything violent to anybody. You sold drugs. You bought drugs. You sold drugs. You bought drugs. You sold drugs. You made a living. Despite the fact you've never had any guns, despite the fact you've never hurt anybody, with violence, despite the fact that there's no gang association, third strike, you're out. Goodbye. We're putting you in prison with no mandatory minimum life without parole. There are people in prison all across the country for marijuana possession and marijuana distribution, life without parole. But as I repoint back to this figure, this statistic, because it is so amazing. In 2014, the federal prison population went down for the first year ever. That's the only negative number on that whole list. And I'm telling you, it goes back to 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010. It's not to 2015. The last date listed is 2014. And the only negative number there in that column is a large one, 5,149 people. It went down. It's an amazing statistic. 214,149 is what we're at now, down from a prison population high of almost 220,000. And that's so important to pay attention to because it is unsustainable. It is draconian to put people in prison. Those prisons were created for the worst of the worst. The ones who are going to break into your home and threaten your safety and security. The ones who are going to steal from you and rob from you and take your car, take your possessions at threat of your life. The ones who are busting in to gas stations to take whatever cheap money's behind the counter. Get some cigarettes off the wall. all while pointing a gun or threatening somebody's life with a weapon, or even not having a weapon and pretending they do. It's just as bad. You're putting these people through the same thing. It's the same threat regardless. And I would suggest that it's those violent people that should be behind the bars. The bank robbers, put them behind the bars. The murderers, the rapists, the molesters, the violators, put those guys behind the bars. If you got to punish somebody for something else and you think it's really important to do, put them through a jurisprudence process that props them up, that gives them some support. You've got to turn it back into, if you intend to survive on the planet with these people, and you can't house them forever, we've proven that. There's the turning point. I just pointed to it right there in the prison population statistics. We've got the most prisoners on the planet. It's going down because we can't keep doing it. And it's going to keep going down for the very reasons that I've just outlined here. It's an important policy to note. It's an important changing point in history to point to. And I think that we need to keep propping it up with additional policies as they come forth, specifically with the cannabis community in the 2016 election and really in the 2015 election. The other breaking news, I'm not going to have time to say it all, but there was a couple of raids today. First, the Jared raid. This is not drug-related, but it is pornography-related. Jared's house got raided. The Subway guy. I don't think Jared's the pornographer. It's child pornography. I think it's one of his business associates using his address as a front for the nonprofit, and he was using that equipment. The other story, somebody from Responsible Ohio today, a big investor, his house raided by the FBI. Got to dig into that and find out what's coming up. Bill Levin, hopefully on the program tomorrow.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.